This podcast is brought to you by our fine supporters on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to find out how you can get bonus episodes of the show, a weekly newsletter telling you something that we liked recently, and also the upcoming episodes of the show. You get a little bit longer of a sneak peek than just the next episode, and a whole bunch more. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Andy! The Macho Andrew.
Oh, I hated that. On so many levels, I hated that.
Yeah, I was like, I thought of it today while I was walking to work, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. And I was like, I truly don't know if I've ever even in jest called you Andrew or Andy instead of Andrew, like my whole life. And it felt so wrong saying it just.
Yeah, it sounded weird to me.
You've got like one friend that called you that, and I remember being like, ugh, I hate it.
Well, so she called me Andy Drew. Okay. So, like, it wasn't a shortened thing, and it was like...
Yeah.
I think it was because I specifically was like, yeah, I don't really do Drew, and I don't do Andy, and she was like, well, what if I did both? Yeah. And I was like, I guess. I don't like it, but sure.
Yeah, there's, like, an affectionate way that a friend can do something like that, but I just... even just saying it now, I felt very wrong.
Yeah.
You probably get that all the time.
A number of people do. The worst... So, I am a scheduler who works remote, so like a lot of the time my interactions with offices is just over the phone, so there's no face anything. And because I like don't know these offices enough to like really stand up, sometimes people just like answer, oh hey Andy, how's it going? And like I'm like, I don't really feel like getting into this. Like, yeah, I speak to you twice a month. It's fine.
That's exactly, yeah. It's like, it's sometimes easier for me just to say Vince. You know what I mean? It's just like makes it a little easier. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I don't need this to be longer.
Well, so. It's funny. In college, in my theater department, when I came into the theater department, there were 4 Andrews.
Oh, boy.
And one of them was called Ginger. One of them was called Drew. And then there was an Andrew already. And I was like, well, I'm not an Andy. And so everyone just called me by my last name. So that became my like
it solves the problem.
De facto nickname.
Yeah, I do remember that also from meeting your college friends and being like, why do they all use football slang?
Yeah, it's just that was the last name thing because there was already everything else was already taken. I couldn't scramble fast enough to get a nickname.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't think you said your name.
Oh, Andrew Lano.
2 times.
It's not Andy.
So it's probably covered. It's not Andy. I just couldn't resist. This is the second half of Indiana Junes. But on our last episode this month, if you're on Patreon, you'll be getting an episode on My Blue Heaven, the end of listener request month, in just a couple days. So check that out if you're on Patreon. And probably a sample in this feed later this week or next week. I forget what day this episode's coming out as we're recording it. But that's not important. This is... until the 2000s, the worst movie in the film franchise, Indiana Jones.
There is a 0% chance that this new one is going to be worse than this. Like, I truly would be hard pressed to find a worse written character than Willie.
We will get into all of that momentarily. It's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your horribly written female character. Someone's gonna get your horribly written female character.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Like, basically, so Willie walked so that True Lies Jamie Lee Curtis could run.
So here's the question I wanna ask you as an actor and a person who's done, some directing and all that too. I feel like there's 3 possibilities here. Maybe there's more, and you can illuminate me.
Sure.
So it could be bad performance. It could be badly written character. It could be badly directed. Right.
So I don't blame Kate Capshaw. I really don't.
I don't think Kate Capshaw is a particularly good actress, and I think the thing she's being asked to do is very hard, which is this character is annoying to the people in the movie, but not to the people at home watching the movie, which is a needle that has been threaded successfully by some actors, but not
often. It's hard. It's a hard one to do, but like I just feel like this character was written so carelessly. Like how truly mind-boggling from a filmmaking standpoint. How do you go from Marion Ravenwood to this? Like, how did you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and you're like, well, what if the woman was useless and screamed every 4 seconds? Like,
so I really truly think the answer to this is both Spielberg and Lucas had just gotten divorced.
So it truly is the True Lies situation.
And it's just like, yeah, well, that's right.
James Cameron went through a bad divorce.
That's right.
Was it Bigelow that they divorced?
Was it Bigelow or Linda Hamilton?
I don't know. Either way, women are not great in that movie either. Jamie Lee turns the party, but not great for women.
Right. Yeah, and it really does feel like all women are evil, so we're gonna make her the worst. And it's just like, yeah, but a lot of people have to watch it, man.
Yeah,
like, this character sucks.
Aggressively bad, and like. I understand that because they wanted to do a prequel, so they wasn't Nazis again, and so maybe it wouldn't make sense for Marion to be there because of the whole like I haven't seen you in forever kind of thing. But like I don't know, it was so frustrating to go from Marion. I was like, oh, she's capable. Okay, I was like, she kind of lost a little fire, but she's a pretty capable character. To this like screaming set dressing. She literally serves the same function as a big mouth bass, or like some novelty Christmas decoration that your mom buys and trots out until the batteries die. Like she's just there to make noise and be kind of visually interesting to look at. And again, I truly, I'm not saying anything bad about Kate Capshaw as an actress or as a person. It felt like fully a writing thing for me because there's only so much that you can do with a character like this, what's on the page, and like, I'm sure, in 1983, whatever, it's a woman isn't exactly like, well, how about I elevate this material for you, Steven Spielberg? You know what I mean?
And like people will point to like, oh, well, they got together, so he must have liked something about it, and it's just like, I mean,
he can like her as a person, and still like this performance is bad.
Right, exactly. And also, like, more importantly than this performance is bad, which I do think this is a bad performance, this character is wretched.
It's awful.
Irredeemably bad. One of the worst characters in any movie we've ever covered, regardless of gender.
I think one of the worst characters I've ever seen in a movie, like bottom 5.
Fair, absolutely. This character is awful. And so I'm always shocked when people talk about this one being their favorite. And I'm sure, there's a million reasons why people have favorite movies, that are logical and illogical, myself included.
Yeah.
Right? I don't, not trying to, say anybody's dumb or anything, but I was very amused. I got into like a bit of an argument with a person on the internet because I'm a fool who still does these things. And someone was talking about a later sequence in this movie, that the snake part, like when we're talking about, people were talking, the part that famously we will talk about a lot in this, famously is talked about in this movie, and we will talk about a lot, is that, the snakes and the eating and all that stuff is like, the person's going on and on like, oh, it's, it's a symbol, snakes are a symbol for evil, and it's like, supposed to something's wrong. It's like,
I mean, in Christianity, sure, but like,
yeah, it's not Christianity. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is not Christianity. And also, I know this series deals a lot with Christianity, but also like the writer of the movie has gone on record and been like, yeah, they wanted it to be as gross as possible. It's like, get the hell out of here with this business. Like this,
yeah,
it's not that deep. It's just not that deep.
And obviously it's not super great that like, oh, isn't it gross what non-white people eat? Like that's not super great.
Right.
But like, that product of the times.
Right. Exactly. A bad product
of the times. I'm not defending. I'm just saying, exactly. Like, obviously,
yeah.
Because also, like, why would monkey brains be the dessert? Like, dessert in every culture is a little sweet, even if it's not like a sugar bomb. Like, there's a sweetness to it.
Right. It makes no sense.
If they said like jellied or like sugared or something, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, fine.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of this movie. And the other thing that I learned today doing the research is all of the parts of this movie that I like were cut out of the Raiders script.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this opening sequence in Shanghai, straight from the Raiders script.
A little confusing, this opening sequence, I gotta say.
Yes, but let me finish my thought before I forget the other ones. The minecart sequence, also from Raiders.
Well, that was also Donkey Kong Country.
Well, that game was that game was 10 years from coming out. I think.
Is it the 90s?
Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, Donkey Kong Country is like 93, 94. The SNES came out in the 90s.
I thought the SNES was late 80s. It was like mid-late 80s.
No, I think the SNES is like 92.
Oh.
Super Nintendo, by the way, for me using the lingo here. Yeah. Anyway, and I think also the raft thing was cut from the Raiders script, which is dumb, but I like it.
Yeah, dumb but fun.
So we're in Shanghai. We can
Harrison gets pre-title billing.
Well, you know.
At this point, yeah.
Both Han Solo and Indiana Jones, the doors open up a little easier. And another evidence of Steven Spielberg's secret desire to direct a musical. Desperately, there's a tiny little musical boy in there yearning to be free.
If he waits 40 years, eventually he'll get a West Side Story, and everyone will go, "That's what you're doing? Okay."
It just occurred to me right now, I don't know if we've made this joke before, but he even gets them to sing in Jaws.
Oh, he does get them to sing in Jaws.
There's like a full musical number. It's not like a
stage production, but there's a musical number.
But they're singing.
Is there one in Jurassic Park?
I don't believe there's any singing in Jurassic Park.
Okay.
None is coming to mind.
No.
It shocks me that there isn't like a chorus line thing in Lost World. The dinosaur just like wreaks havoc and, you know, like breaks through a thief.
Oh, like a King Kong moment?
Yeah.
Or in, not him, it's not him, I know, but, or Jurassic World, there wasn't like a stage show. Like you just pan past a stage show of like people and like.
It still makes me sad that movie was not directed by just like a giant theme park nerd that was like, this is just going to be all my theme park shit.
Yes, 100%.
It's just really incomprehensible. The score here is very Jawsy to me, by the way, speaking of Jaws.
A little bit, yeah. But this sequence doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So
what, you don't think that this Shanghai nightclub has an American singer with 16 chords?
I don't think that this Shanghai nightclub has an entire fleet of white American dancers. I thought
the dancers were Asian.
No, a lot of them were not Asian. Okay. A lot of them were white. I thought they were gonna for
the second wave of dancers is all.
They might be, then? But like the front row, the first bunch. Okay. I was like,
I was talking about the second wave. Like, there's the part slightly later in this sequence when like all
also makes no goddamn sense.
Screaming. Yeah.
But I was like, oh, they would do the Tokyo Disney thing where you hire enough white people to like get by, and then everyone else is a native Asian person, local talent. But so she's singing "Anything Goes" in Chinese, and then like goes
Mandarin specifically.
Is it Mandarin specifically?
Anyone is keeping score. Yeah, I just because I was reading the trivia, I wasn't trying to.
Is Shanghai? Do they speak Mandarin in Shanghai predominantly? Or is it supposed to be a weird thing that she's singing Mandarin?
You're way out of my depth. I think that is it's 1984. It's China. That's what they speak there.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're doing here.
But she like goes, she's like surrounded. It's clearly a very small stage. It's the kind of stage I've performed on many times. It's small and cramped, and there's too many people on it. And then
it's a black box theater size stage, but done up like it's Broadway.
Yeah, but it's in like a cabaret. It's in like a dining room space. And so she like goes through this through all these women, and then all of a sudden they're on like Radio City Music Hall stage, doing a full kickline tap number, and I was like
Rockette style. Yep.
I was like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden, she like runs through like a statue, an opening in a statue, and she's back in the cabaret space, and I was like, are we doing Chicago? Like, is there like some weird deeper meaning to this like weird sequence that it's all in her head?
Right.
I don't get it. Is that ever explained ever in anything that like where that was?
How the movie works?
Yeah, there was seems to be like a peephole for people to look through to watch the tap dancers.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I guess, and boy, am I being extremely generous.
I hope you've done some light stretching before this stretch.
I could see a world in which someone who wasn't super up and up on the the ins and outs and the whys of a musical theater stage could be like, well, they need to have a ability to see for their cue and know like where the number is at, as if they couldn't hear it. And that's why there's a peephole for her to sneak or look through. The real answer is Stevie Spielberg thought it looked cool on screen.
Yeah, especially when there is a dance floor. Like there is a laminate flooring dance floor that they should just put all the dancers on. Just do it there.
Right. Yeah, do theater in the round style.
Yeah.
So she comes to the table. Indy takes her hostage. The real bummer of this opening sequence is one that it's really fun, but also imagine if the movie climaxed here and this was like the end of the big adventure with Indy, and even you can keep the plane gag and it's kind of a funny thing at the end. Like Indy thinks he's got away and he hasn't, and it's like there you're kind of like setting up what his next adventure will be.
I like that.
And because the adventure that we only get to hear about that it took for him to get this particular artifact seems much more interesting than the one we have a whole movie to watch about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad adventure. The movie that we get is not a bad adventure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I just feel like the one that they tell us about sounds more interesting.
Because
than
that
the
one doesn't
they show
involve
us.
Kate Capshaw's character. That's why.
Exactly.
Also, she's got big Nicole Kidman and Moulin Rouge energy, which I'm not
She
mad
has
about.
Big Nicole Kidman energy, period. Yeah.
We come to this place to laugh, to cry.
We come to this place to repair our broken hearts.
I am so happy that my local theater is an AMC because every time I forget that it's an AMC and thus I'm going to watch the Nicole Kidman thing until dazzling images on a silver screen and I see that pantsuit and I'm like, oh, that's right, we're doing it.
Have you and I talked about the Regal one? Furthermore, have you and I talked about the Regal one on this podcast? Because I really don't want to rehash a
I
conversation.
don't believe so. Who's the famous person?
Okay, so I had the Regal Unlimited pass for like a very short time period. My wife was teaching a class, and I was like, well, I need to be not in the house once a week. So I basically went to the movies 5 or 6 weeks in a row, and I was like, well, this pass is worth it then.
Yeah.
And I was just basically seeing anything because I was going based on time, not based on movie. And, I like going to the movies. So I was like, this is kind of a fun thing. I've not done this since I was a teenager. That I was like, every Friday I go to the movies kind of thing. And Regal's version of that is a bunch of people, all but like one non-celebrity, quoting lines from movies, but like with no logic applied to it whatsoever.
Like life is like a box of chocolates, and you're like, what does that have to do with the movies?
So here's a great example. People go walking into the theater. It's like a packed house. The movie hasn't started yet in the thing, obviously, because Regal doesn't want to make their customers look that rude. But in the real world, this would be 5 minutes into the movie.
Yes.
The woman walks in. She yells, "Hey, you guys!" to presumably the friends that she was just recently in the lobby with.
This is my nightmare scenario, but go on.
Okay, well, let me put a pin there and tell you, this is like minute 1 of the 2-minute commercial, and so we've already had a full minute of things like, this place is nicer than my apartment. Son of a, when a guy spills butter, and then her being like, she's beauty and she's grace, as this guy frantically like tries to
Oh
clean
my
his
God. Just pay a celebrity.
A woman walks up to the counter to order a popcorn, holds up her phone to show her Regal Unlimited Pass, which gives you 10% off concessions, and says, "So I got that going for me." To which the employee at the Regal says, "Which is nice." And I'm like, oh
What
my God.
world?
Yeah.
In the same
So we're
world
back
that
in
Nicole Kidman is in a post-apocalyptic movie theater, I guess, but...
Yeah. So we cut back and we have, hey, you guys. So this woman and her 2 companions walk up to the people who are sitting in a completely full row, which is, again, something that any person with functional eyes, and frankly, most blind people can tell from the bottom before they have walked up the row and then walked past.
Also, you have to pick your seats now. You have to pick your fucking seats
Also
now.
fair. Also, but they're in a full row, and the guy says, "You can't sit with us," like doing Mean Girls. And the guy replies to him, "So you're telling me there's a chance?" That doesn't make sense. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long.
You can't sit with us, so you're telling me there's a chance? That doesn't...
No, he's not telling you there's a chance. He said you can't sit with us. What are we fucking doing, Regal Cinemas?
Who is the celebrity? There's one, right?
Okay. And then that guy, after you can't sit with us, shows off his like bag from The Hangover and is like, it's not a man purse, it's a satchel. And it was just like, so then we cut to Danny Trejo, the man who will show up anywhere for a bait.
Honestly, if they should have just done the Nicole Kidman with Danny Trejo, that's better.
So it's Danny Trejo with 3 people. Maybe they're his real family. Maybe they're just cast to look like his family. They're clearly intended to be like his people, his family.
Yeah.
You know, when I say his people, I mean like his family. He has a soda that's like the size, you know, it's a 2-quart movie soda.
And it's bubbling as though it's about to erupt like Mount Vesuvius.
Oh, no, his is empty.
Oh,
and so
what?
He's like, he's shaking the soda at the woman and being like, accusing her of doing it. And she's like, as if, and then he looks to the other woman 2 seats down who physically could not possibly have drank his drink without him noticing. And she says, "You sit on a throne of lies," from Elf. And then he turns back to the other guy who is the one who is the culprit, who looks very guilty.
This sounds like you're describing a fever dream you had.
He says, "I know it was you, Fredo," in his great Danny Trejo voice. And then the guy, like, you know, shirks away. And then we go to the thing. It's incomprehensible. Not only that, like, again, we talk about a lot of times with movies, like how many people there were that to prove the process. But like,
no, you know what this was? This was AI. This is what AI written shit looks like.
It really, truly is. It's just copy pasting famous quotes.
It sounds like the version, like,
wait. Can I give you the finale?
Go ahead.
Because the finale is the kid from the counter earlier who was like, "Which is nice," and has like just a really bad like anime character haircut, which looks very silly on this man. And he walks out into the theater and is like, "I think this is going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship." And I'm like, how dare you, Mr. Bogart? How dare you?
No,
do this to him?
No, we no, thank you. Like,
it is so much worse than the Nicole Kidman one.
It sounds like
we could do a full Patreon episode, by the way, on these 2 commercials. I'm going to cut all this out and just post it on Patreon as a bonus.
There we go. But it sounds like what was it? Seltzer and Friedberg Seltzer version of things where it's like, there's no jokes. There's no anything. Nope. It's just, remember this?
But beyond that, like, yes, that's bad. I'm fully on board with that. But the part that drives me insane is
you can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us. So you're telling me there's a chance. That doesn't make sense. That's completely insane. That's a completely insane person's response to that sentence.
I hate it. I hate it so much. Honestly, like, you know what?
If he was like, "You can't sit with us," and he went as if and like walked
that's
away.
Better. That's the response.
That's there. You already had it in the commercial. Just rearrange it.
Frankly, what they should be doing is just like they should have just made a roster of the Nicole Kidman thing with other actors, and then just like dropped them in there, and like not they should be wearing exactly the same outfit, doing the exact same line read and the exact same set, so that like people are like, wait, I thought it was is that Danny Trejo in a silver pantsuit?
Yeah.
Is that Ke Huy Quan in a silver pantsuit?
The other one that makes no sense, I don't know if you've seen this, but they had one in front of Dungeons and Dragons when I went to see it, is like the cast. It looks like it's shot at like and it's not a round table, but those, you know, like a junket interview.
The actor discussions, yeah.
Yeah. But like the thing where it's like the actors are sitting in a room and like every 15 minutes, a new journalist comes in and asks them the same questions. Mm-hmm. And if you watch, you can see them like slowly lose their minds over the course of a day. It's the 4 actors looking like they're at gunpoint, basically being like
saying, "Thank you for coming to the movies."
Yes. It's so stupid.
When we went to see Scream, it looked like they were in what like
we got that one too. I forgot about it.
It looks like they're in what like Hollywood wants you to think a movie set looks like a big soundstage that's empty with like the like warehouse metal exposed beams, and they're all like floating in an abyss. Like, this movie was meant to be seen in theaters. Thank you for coming to a movie theater. And it's like the weirdest, like most masturbatory bullshit ever.
But also they're all giving their like thank you speech with the energy of someone whose mother is off screen with a huge pistol to the side of their head, like a Jack Nicholson Joker pistol plopped up against a temple. And it's like, this is where movies are meant to be seen. They're here on the big screen. So
also, I'm going to say it, 60% of movies don't need the big screen.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you, but that's fine.
60% of movies are perfectly fine in your home. No, I'm not saying watch them on your phone, but like your home TV is probably big enough.
Theater. I like going to the theater.
I do too, but like let's not pretend that like there's certain like Avatar, big scope things are movie theater movies. But like, I don't know, Scream and the Super Mario Brothers movie, probably just as fine in your home.
Yeah.
They're both good movies. I like them both.
I disagree with you. I thought both of those were. I saw both those movies in theaters, and I thought both were boosted. Super Mario by the small children being endlessly delighted by what I thought was a thoroughly mediocre movie, and Scream, love a horror movie in a group. You get the extra screamage.
See, we had bad people at our screening, so.
We went to the Alamo Draft House, which does help.
I wish I could had one of those. I wish I had one nearby enough that for movies like that where I'm like. Because literally people at the end of our aisle kept like turning their phones on to like look at things.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And not like look things that like use the phone screen as a flashlight. Like look at their seat, look at the thing, look at the popcorn. And I was like,
It's just a bag of popcorn. This isn't that serious.
I wanted to be like, you need to sit the fuck down.
Yeah. Tuesday is a great night to go to the movies because no one else is there, and that's why they're often discounted.
So we went, we saw the Mario movie, I think, on a Sunday, but like weeks after it had opened, because I was like, oh, we're deep into the run. Like, it's probably not going to be busy. I looked in the morning, I was like, oh, there's plenty of seats available. We'll be fine. We're not going to book it. And then we got there, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of people here for a for a fifth week movie on a Sunday.
Kids movies, baby. Gotta get out of the house and do something with these kids.
I thought that's what Saturday was for.
Sunday rolls around, it's just as empty as shit to do. Take it over to Mario. Pour me some wine.
But we sat in the back of Mario with like adults. I was like, this is nice. So we got the energy of the children from the front of the room.
That's what I got. Yeah,
but like I was surrounded by adults who weren't like, what is that? It's Mario.
Yeah, that's I was there was like a gaggle of children, like a birthday party or something on a Thursday night, which was wild, and it was like, that's Bowser. Hey, it's Yoshi.
I got to like very quietly whisper that and grab my boyfriend's hand at like the music cues or like it's shiny.
Yeah. Anyway, I love the giant lazy Susan on this table.
These always remind me of Pushing Daisies.
They did have big ones, didn't they?
Well, everything in that show is big, but there was an episode where like there was an illegal gambling ring, but instead of cards, it was dumplings. So like it was like I think it was like 4-card Monty, whatever. But it was like
3-card, yeah.
The number of dumplings in the container, and then whatever filling was the suit. So like if you got like 3 of shrimps or whatever, so it was how they could like secretly gamble in front of everybody, but nobody would know.
Yeah.
So that's what these like lazy Susans in Asian restaurants always make me think of that.
That's funny. I love this sequence. This is like very James Bondy, but I really love it. Of Indy gets poisoned, like he almost drinks it, and they shoot it in such a way to be like, oh, it's almost, it's
also like
crazy.
Indy, come on,
yeah,
come on,
you're too. He's kind of a fool in this movie, a bunch of times, but he almost drinks it. That he ends up drinking it, and the guy, he's laughing. Is it Lao Che?
Lao Che. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he pulls out the vial of the mysterious blue-looking liquid and is like, well, what's that?
It's Mr. Freeze's, like, essence.
It is. But I love the antidote to what? The poison you just drank. That's perfect James Bond shit. Really good performance.
It's so good. This is where I wrote, there's already too much Kate Capshaw.
Yeah.
She does not need a line after every line.
Right.
It's like, Lao speaks, she speaks. Indy speaks, she speaks. Lao speaks, and exactly. I'm like, hey, she's not important right now.
She's super not. I do love the Abraham Lincoln-esque wait for the champagne corks to pop and then shoot the, the accomplice. Shoots Indy's. I also that's like such a delightful movie thing. Is like, his guy comes over. Is it Wuhan?
Wuhan, I think.
Yeah, and he walks over. I truly could not tell if I wrote an N or a Y. Really good handwriting I have. And he walks over with the gun, and he's like, my oldest friend. We've been on so many adventures together. And I was like, wait, what? We don't know this guy. Oh, right, prequel.
This is a prequel.
But I love the idea of like, this is my old friend who you've never met before, but is very important. Oh, he's dead. He's gone.
Oh, damn. Harrison Ford's so sweaty again.
So sweaty. He's so sweaty in this whole movie.
Sweatiest man in show business.
I do love that he spears a guy with the flaming meat.
It's like the Brazilian steakhouse when he just like picks up the spit meat flaming and just launches it into the guy.
It looks
And then
amazing. It's really
in the ensuing brawl, they chose to leave in the clip of Indy punching the cigarette girl in the face. They didn't have to do that.
Isn't it like a gag? Like he misses and he punches her.
No, it's that she bumps. Like it's a brawl, and I think she's just behind him, and he turns around and just punches. Which, I get it. It's a brawl, whatever. But it's a choice. You made the choice to leave that in there.
I think that played way funnier in 1984.
I mean, the gag itself, someone being punched by mistake, is funny. It's just wild to me that you chose a cigarette girl.
It honestly kind of riffs on the thing to me where it's like the two heroes bump backs and they both almost hit each other and then they're like, oh, okay. And then they do the like duck and punch the one behind.
You know what?
But instead of that,
it should have been.
He just clocks this girl.
Get the cigarette girl out of there. He should have been backed up to the bandstand and turned around and punched one of the horn players, because then you can get the like as he goes ass over tea kettle.
Slide goes like
yeah.
Trombone slide goes way up in the air as the guy falls down. This is like a beautiful chaos sequence. You know, like one of the most fun versions.
It is. The band's still playing. The next set of dancers are still coming out for some reason. I will say, at one point, Indy and Kate Capshaw are in the foreground. He's like, "Where's the antidote?" And I'm like, "Hey, look to your left. It's literally on the ground to your left, buddy. It's bright blue and it glows."
In his defense, he is dying. He is literally dying.
It's a bright blue glowing tube.
But it's like, you know, people she's going for the diamond and Indy's going
because that's her personality trait. She likes diamonds.
Right. I mean, like later in the movie, we learn that the Maharaja is single, and she's like, ooh, say he's rich, and it's like that you don't have to make everything the character does the worst possible.
She hears that there's diamonds inside these sacred stones and goes, "Diamonds?" Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like Miss Piggy.
It is, except I love Miss Piggy.
Right, because she's a felt pig and it's funny. Like, the joke is obvious because she's a felt pig, and instead,
frankly, that's the movie. That's the movie I want. Let's do. So here's the. You know how there's only one human in the Muppet movie?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna say that one human is Ke Huy Quan.
But now playing this character still.
Yeah, still playing Short Round. So Kermit is Indiana Jones, obviously. Piggy is Kate Capshaw.
I'm 99% sure there's a Muppet Babies with Kermit as Indy, but
it's in the opening, the theme song, as they're like doing, like showing their imagination. He's like swinging away from the boulder.
Yep. I think that's a show. That's an episode.
I'm sure, but it's in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ke Huy Quan, here he is. Here he is, boys. Here he is, world.
I don't want to miss my favorite, which also I believe was in the Raiders script. The way Indy gets out of this,
it's a good one.
The gong gets knocked down and starts rolling across the room, and he runs behind it as the guy shoots it with the Tommy gun, and you see the bullets like, you know, pattern into the gong. It's kind of like ringing each time.
It's well done.
I love this so much. It's the amount of work that so many people had to do to make this look cool on screen is probably mind-boggling.
Oh, 100%.
Effects and all that stuff, but then like day of coordination of like there's like 100 people in this scene and
at minimum.
All right, you 12 are going to cross left to right, and you 12 are going to cross right to left, and you can't run into each other, or the whole thing's screwed. So here you go. Oh, by the way, we're throwing a bunch of marbles on top of a glass dance floor. Have fun, don't die. But yes, Ke Huy Quan, as you said, is driving the getaway vehicle, and we later see he's got like little wooden blocks
tied to his feet
so he can reach the pedals. It's so cute.
He is such a good little actor that like I'm so mad that Hollywood didn't let him do stuff after like
it's also
doing well in this, doing really well in the Goonies, like two major movies.
Both one directed by and the other produced by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like, how did he not get him more work? What the hell?
I don't know, man. He was too busy focusing on Drew Barrymore and keeping her clean.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's such a fucking bummer because I'm watching this like, oh, right. He's a really talented child actor. He's charming, he's fun, he's expressive, he's in the movie just enough so that he's not annoying.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't get to the point of annoyance, unlike Kate Capshaw, who's
Already
in this
there.
sequence,
We're 5 minutes in
Indiana
and we're already
Jones-
there.
She tucked the vial of antidote into her clothes, get some hidden pocket or whatever, and Indy's like, give me the antidote. And she's going like, I'm not that kind of girl. And he's like, woman, he's dying.
Yeah, I hate her because I don't understand any of it. She's like blaming him for all this nonsense, even though she was dating a mafia man, which like play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Right, right.
As we said last time, you have to be all Nazi or no Nazi. There's no middle.
And then, like, he's shooting at the people who are chasing them because they're shooting back, and he asks her to hold the gun, and she throws it out the window because it's too hot.
She's like doing this, the like, I have nails on, so my fingers are splayed out juggle, and she's like, I hate her character.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
And again, I don't hate Kate Capshaw. I hate this character.
Yeah. I don't like the performance either. I'll say that, too.
But again, like, how much is she supposed to do with this script?
No, I agree with you. When I found out that the two of them had just gotten divorced, this made so much more sense to me.
Yeah. So bummer.
So much
Bummer city.
And also, have I told you the thing I heard about, which I fully believe is the truth, that the special editions of Star Wars, George's wife, her first name's Marcia, I'm pretty sure. She edited the original Star Wars movie. Everyone involved is like, the reason why that movie is good is because she saved it in the edit. Like, it was
I mean, editors save everything.
That's what they do. Yeah. That's what they do. But so when George went and did his special editions, she was no longer credited as the editor. And many people have speculated that the reason why you can't get the old ones is because she doesn't make any money on the new ones.
I believe it.
Like, their divorce was ugly, so yeah, wouldn't shock me.
I believe it. Gross.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, oh, of course, like, they hated women right at this time. Like, they were miserable men in this point in their lives.
I'm like, Steven Spielberg, you're gonna be fine, my dude. Like,
yeah. He's only 30. Like, he made Raiders.
You're like 30. You're 30 at most. You've made.
No, he's older than that. He's almost 40 at this point, I think.
I thought this is less than.
I'm pretty sure he was. I thought he was 34 when he made Raiders.
I thought he was younger than that because I thought he was pretty young for Jaws, and that was like 72, 3. 75. I thought he was like
75.
22 when he made Jaws.
No, he's older than that when he made Jaws. He was born in 46. This came out in 84, which makes him
38.
38, yeah. I thought he was almost 40.
Yeah. Like, you're 38, and you have already made 2 of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
As well as a lot of other movies. Like, you're gonna be fine, my dude.
Right. And the other thing, too, is like, you know, he clearly is a person who wanted to have children and stuff. And it's like, you already had a kid at that point. Like, when he and Kate Capshaw get married, there's sort of a Brady Bunch, you know, building family. And then they have like 80 more kids together. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you've made 2 of the best movies of all time. You've had a child, which was important to you. Like, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
You're not 40 yet. Dan Aykroyd is in this movie for no reason. For what?
I was so excited to see him, and then I was like, he's not coming back.
No.
Which, like, given the setting, I'm glad because there's not a space for him that's not horribly offensive.
Yeah. Although him doing this like foppy British man, I would be delighted if he like was at the end, like the military British guy shows up to save the day. It would have been great to me if it was Dan Aykroyd who was like, when your plane never arrived, I rallied the troops.
Honestly wish that Dan Aykroyd was like another version of the guy from the museum. Brody. Like a Brody type that was like... This
movie is desperately in need of a Marcus Brody type. Desperately.
Well, the problem is we had Capshaw.
I know.
But like, I would love if it was like, he's only there for a few, like 5 to 10 minutes tops of screen time. Mm-hmm. But like, he's the guy who's like, well, I'm going to arrange your transportation. You just let me know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Telegram,
I would love
stop.
If he shows up if he was at the end as the cavalry, that would have been a delight to me.
I do love this like bit of writing and dramatic irony of like, he goes, see you later, Lao Che, and then shuts the door, and the door says Lao Che Freight Air, or Air Freight, or whatever it is. And I was like,
fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. No notes.
We get a cut scene so that Indy can be in his normal outfit.
Yeah, he walks into frame wearing the right clothes is really funny to me.
It's a lot of this movie feels like a video game. Like that's what this feels like. That was the cold open of like Nathan Drake and whatever with Sully doing a thing, and then it's sound of a plane, a rumble pack in your hand, and they're wearing the right clothes on the plane now.
There's a really funny. They've put out a bunch of older Indiana Jones action figures just recently because of this, and I was looking at some in the store the other day, and the Chase variant is. I guess it's not a Chase variant, but the variant Indy is him in the white dinner jacket here. And I was just like, who wants this? There's like a booster level number of these. It's like there's like.
Is it like the Kenner like action ones?
No, they have those which are like GI Joe scale, and then they have the more like these are like 6-inch scale, and it's I think it's Marion, regular Indy, suit jacket Indy. I think the
short
Nazi
round
guy. No short round. I think Belloc is one. I forget. So anyway, we quick change into the right clothes, and then we get a map transition. And during the map transition, the pilots are like scheming, and then they jump out of the plane.
They're gonna crash this plane full of chickens. Yeah. They do crash this plane full of chickens.
They do crash a plane full of chickens.
Like, I feel like Indy should have like opened their cages and like opened the door. Like, give them a chance.
Chickens can't fly.
They can flutter though.
What you're describing is literally the scene in I think it's WKRP in Cincinnati where they do like a turkey drop with live turkey. It's a radio. You only hear this joke. You don't
I think you told me about this.
And it's like a joke that gets ripped off a lot. I don't know if it's actually like originated in WKRP in Cincinnati, but like they're doing a turkey drop and they drop a turkey out of a helicopter unbeknownst to the fact that the turkey cannot fly. And so they drop a live turkey out of a helicopter.
Oh, that's a bag of turkey soup.
It sure is. And there's like horrified screams and stuff.
Oh, the Turkmanity. But chickens can flutter. They do that.
I think if you dropped a chicken out of an airplane, it would flutter.
Well, here are the options. Like it explodes upon impact with a mountain.
Instant death.
Or it flutters and maybe survives.
You're describing the situation from Hitchhiker's Guide where the whale is suddenly falling to its death and like is narrating like, oh, what's this going past my body? I'll call it wind.
Not again.
The thing with the boat is a thing people really didn't like at the time. I was reading some like contemporary stuff.
Also, but they glossed over the fact that everyone in this movie sleeps like they've taken 5 Ambien.
Yeah.
Like the door in a plane
pilot
opens.
And then the second pilot yells.
Like, and they're all still sleeping. Even later, short round, still sleeping while Indy's getting attacked loudly and knocking things over.
Yeah.
I wish I could sleep. I mean, I do sleep pretty well, but I wish I could sleep like that.
Maybe they gave short round some poison in the eyeball soup, some sleeping powders. But so there's no parachutes, of course. So what do? They grab the boat, and honestly, I think this would work for more people, and it's dumber. Don't get me wrong. If they like were all holding the boat as if it were the parachute.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was slowing there, just like they inflated the boat and then they all hung on it upside down and were dangling. But I think the reason they don't do that is because this is a lot of miniatures. And I think there's just a couple shots where it's very obviously miniatures. But if you had 3 like G.I. Joes hanging on the thing, it would just look awful.
It would look terrible.
On screen.
Also, this spoiler alert for Rise of the Resistance, if you care about that ride being pure to you, I feel like if that technology existed then, this would have made a great Rise of the Resistance that like you start in a room with like the ballroom and they're like, get on the plane. And then you get on the plane and then they're like, the plane's going down. And then they load you into rafts for like a water ride.
Here's the question though. Do you have to have a person there who yells 65 times a day, we're not sinking, we're crashing?
No, they pay a half rate sound alike to record it. And then it just plays on a loop.
It's not even like a good take. That's the thing.
It's not a good written joke.
Takes. No. That line could be funny, but she's doing her like Indy, which is just awful.
I'm glad that she also like we're not saying anything that Kate Capshaw herself hasn't also said about this role. which is good to know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, she's not stupid. Like, she's aware. It's like she was a woman in 1984 Hollywood. This was only the fourth thing she was ever credited in. She was in one other movie previously and 2 TV things. So, like, of course she was just like, yeah, man, I'll take the job.
Yeah. They end up in an Indian village and get kind of like worshipped.
Well, they do. I do like this. Like, so they land on a mountainside and they do some cool stunts skiing down a mountain in this float, and then the plane crashes. And
Wasn't
then
that in
the float?
Isn't that in a James Bond movie too?
There's a skiing thing in James Bond that has some hilarious doubles, but it's not. I don't think it's a boat on this.
And it's not a boat, but it's still like, you know,
It is just as ridiculous.
out of an airplane into skis is still wild.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the Pierce Brosnan
I think
one.
It's a Roger Moore. Is it a Brosnan? I think there's skiing in multiple James Bonds. The one I'm remembering was Roger Moore, like parachuting, then becoming
Like old ass Roger Moore?
I mean,
or like
slightly
younger.
less old ass Roger Moore, but yeah, I mean, Roger Moore was old ass when he was James Bond. Period.
Yeah.
You know? It's a fun bit of, you know, stuff, and then of course the raft goes over a cliff, lands in a river. They're doing some river business. Blah blah blah. And then we get a silent harbinger who leads them to this Indian village.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just talking about some Indian stuff quickly. They wanted to film this in India, and so they went to the government there and were like, "Hey, we'd like to film this. You know, here's our idea." And they're like, "All right, well, let us read the script." And they gave them the script, and then they're like, "This is incredibly offensive."
Well, from what I read, that they specifically they were like, the word Maharaja, we can't use that word, and it's like,
Yeah,
that's
you can't.
that's
yeah.
the problem.
Well, no, they there was a number of things. It was like, this is the the portrayal of our culture is bad, and also you're using like a pretty important word to our culture and just like absolutely shitting on it. Like, you can't do this. And they were like, all right, cool, we'll just go somewhere else. Bye. Thank you for your notes. We don't care about them.
Yeah, that's why like I wish more movies just like made up countries.
Right.
Like,
that's the solution to this is so easy. It's Abelia. Where's that? Somewhere in the Middle East. Okay, done.
Yeah, Zimbelia.
Yeah.
Like, just make up a name. You're not a real place, because then you're free to make up whatever culture you want.
Right. And as long as it is like sufficiently hodgepodge, that's like, the thing you cannot do is be like, it's Zambia, and then you just make them India. You can't do that. Like, you need to hodgepodge it.
Yeah.
But if you make it up and you make it all up, no one is offended because it's all fake.
So they're talking to like the village elder, who apparently had to Doug Jones his way through the dialogue because he didn't speak English.
Oh, he had to like phonetically do it.
Yeah, so Steven Spielberg just gave him phonetically the lines, which I get what they did for Pan's Labyrinth for Doug Jones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't speak any Spanish.
Spanish, right? Okay. This scene like drives me so insane. So obviously this character sucks. Like, we already are well established that. But this village like comes together to give them food, and Indy and Short Round are eating, and she's like, "I'm not eating that. It's gross." And he's like, "You're being incredibly offensive. Like, this is more food than most of these people eat in a week or a month." I forget what he says. And she's like, she just does not care. She's like, "No." Like,
To be fair, she does try and give it to someone. So, like, she does turn to the person and says, "You can have this. I will give her the one thing in this fucking movie I'll give her."
But that is also offensive. Like, like culturally, you're refusing a gift that someone is giving you. You know what I mean? Like, that is also a no-no. And Indy's like, you're doing like everything you're doing is wrong. You have to stop. And she's just like, ew, gross. It's rice and vegetables. Like, it
is kind of gross. It doesn't look like rice. It looks like slop. It looks like mush slop on a plate.
Look, I don't mean to be rude. I love Indian food, but I think lots of Indian foods, when filmed from 6 feet away on a plate, aren't very appetizing looking because they're just curries. They're gravy with things into them.
I thought because this movie does a lot of that with this food, with non-white people food, it was like grayish slop that looked cold, which like in general is not appealing and not indicative of what I've seen Indian food to be.
Right. Yeah. So the other thing with the food is like, so the village elder, after this food business concludes, the village elder explains the situation, that this sacred stone has been stolen, and also that all their children are missing. The whole time I was watching this, I've seen the Clerks cartoon episode about this.
I don't
like 10
remember that.
Yes, you do. It's Sexy Randall the Pharaoh Wizard.
I didn't know that was supposed to be this. I thought that was supposed to be Ender's Game meets Stargate. That's this too?
No, it's The Last Starfighter, which specifically had the like video game as like training for doing something. But then Jay and Silent Bob become the baseball coaches, Dante becomes the baseball coach, and Jay and Silent Bob are on the baseball team because they're inexplicably still eligible for elementary school baseball for some reason. They never graduated, and then they go on like a Randall gets taken away Last Starfighter style, but it's not like piloting spaceships. It's literally moving bricks and like moving stones, and it's this. And then they go to play the baseball championship, and they're like, all of our children have been kidnapped. Like, we don't know what happened to them. And so Jay and Silent Bob and the baseball team free the kids and Randall. And then when they come back to the village and it's like the hero's welcome, they're like, great, now we have to play you in baseball. And the children are like, we haven't eaten in weeks. They're like, shut up and get your asses.
I don't remember that part.
They beat the kids like 60-1, and then they like celebrate their baseball championship. But it's fully just this Temple of Doom business.
Also, I don't know if this is Ke Huy Quan or Steven Spielberg or what, but like he's doing the perfect amount of like copying Indy as like,
yes,
he's the coolest adult I've ever seen. He's also the nicest adult that I've ever seen on the streets of Shanghai.
We neglected to mention that Indy picked him up because his parents were murdered
with a bomb. But like Indy will like, you know, lace his fingers and put them under his chin.
This is I am shocked.
It's Jaws.
You don't know that. I am shocked that you don't know this is Spielberg direction.
But it's not.
This is from
they're not facing each other.
Tricks. No, but he's just doing the same exact bit from Jaws. I love it.
It's good, but that's why I was like, I don't know if Ke Quan was like, hang on, like, let me do this.
Yeah, it's. Super
but also
cute.
like him as an actor, like, because he's not an actor. This is his first thing. He was, you know, an open audition at a school that he wasn't even supposed to go to. So, like, it would make sense that he'd be like, oh, let me copy what an actor is doing.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's right. I feel like I heard this anecdote after Everything Everywhere. It was his brother who was supposed to audition? Is that
his brother
right?
did audition, and Ke was there for, like, moral support.
Yeah.
And then they were like, do you want to come in here?
What a great story.
It was so nice to see him in Everything Everywhere all at once, because he's, like, has the same energy.
Absolutely.
As he did all those years ago.
It's a real joyful exuberance.
That's the perfect word for it. And like him at every award show, red carpet, like he's like bouncing, like it'll be like a crowd of people. Yeah. You see his head pop up in the background as he's like makes his way like Brendan Fraser or like Harrison Ford. Like he's so excited to see everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The moment when he and Harrison Ford like do the bear hug on like obviously like they try to manufacture these moments. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I always delight in reminding people that they tried to do this for Chadwick Boseman, a made actor, the last category of the night, and then he lost to Anthony Hopkins, who was not there, and they were like, "We accept this award on his behalf. Good night."
I don't remember that one. I don't think I watched that one.
But I love that it was Harrison Ford, and they had just like such a charming bear hug of just like it was so joyous and real. It was nice.
Yeah.
Did you read the interview where they arranged like a meeting? Like Ke Huy Quan was somewhere, and they were like, "Oh, Harrison's here. Do you want to meet? Do you want to meet him?" And he was like, "Of course I want to meet Harrison. Are you kidding?
Not meet. He saw him already. Like."
This was like a backstagey thing, and it was like, do you want to talk to him? Not meet, maybe it was talk to him or whatever. And he was like, of course. And they brought him in, and this must have been before the Oscars thing. So
was Harrison like doing a play or something?
No, I think it was just like at an award show or something. But it was just like, Harrison Ford is here. Do you want to talk to him? And it was like, of course I do. And they brought Ke Huy Quan in, and they like looked at each other, and Harrison like cocked his head and recognized him and was like, "Are you Short Round?" And he goes, "Yes, Indy." And then they like bear hugged. And I was just like, what a sweet, he's such a nice person. It's so good to see him get this shot. I hope this isn't it, by the way. It would be so exactly Hollywood to be like, and you win an Academy Award. All right, goodbye. We don't have any roles for Asian.
You go back on the shelf.
Yeah, it's still true.
Although
we have no roles for
Disney
Asian.
did literally lift the entire cast of Everything Everywhere for their new movie or TV show. I don't know which it is.
Yes.
Chinese-born American or American-born Chinese? American-born Chinese.
The second one.
It's the second one.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the trailer and I was like, oh, Michelle Yeoh. Cool, she's getting more stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Ke Huy Quan. Oh, the daughter in Everything Everywhere.
Stephanie Shu. Right?
Stephanie Shu.
Is Stephanie Shu in Everything Everywhere?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I was like, oh, they're just taking everybody from Everything Everywhere and putting them in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, and then it'll be like, who's the casting director? Oh, the same one. Sure, that's not an accident. So anyway, the village elder shows him where the stone belongs.
Indy magically knows this entire language before he's like clearly like doing hand gestures. Our plane crashed, not magic. And then all of a sudden, the elder is speaking this language, and Indy's like translating. And I was like, "Well, hang on, good sir."
Well, maybe it's a situation where plane crash isn't in the old language that Indy knows,
but he knows every other word.
No, I'm saying like the word plane doesn't exist in that language.
Then say bird. Figure it out.
So this starving child returns
with a scrap of fabric that's like a clue.
Yeah, and it's got all this, and the explanation of what's going on, basically why the stones were stolen. It's like Star White, basically. Okay, we're getting on elephants and going.
The fact that these movies, I wouldn't bat an eye if there was like a whip crack sound as the screen swiped left or something.
Yeah. But I felt so sad for these elephants who are like wrapped in chains, having these people ride them. And I was remembering, this is an insane sounding thing, but do you remember riding an elephant at the Philadelphia Zoo, or were you too young for that?
I think I was too young for that. They had the keys, but I don't think they were doing that when I was going to the zoo.
That used to be a thing that like you could just go to the Philadelphia Zoo and ride an elephant. And it's like insane to me to think that like we're not that far removed. I'm 36, and it was like, oh yeah, when you were 6 years old, elephants, we were like, yeah, you just the zoo, part of the zoo is not looking at the elephants, it's physically riding them.
Yeah, I still wish I could ride an elephant. I know I shouldn't. I know you shouldn't, but it's the same way I want to like swim with manatees.
You can swim near sea creatures without disturbing them. I've swam near many sea turtles, and it's amazing. It's not like, it's no less cool to be 10 feet from a sea turtle than it is, 1 foot from a sea turtle.
I know, but also like it's like a bear. If not friend, then why friend shaped? Like,
I'm just saying you could swim near the manatee.
But I want to hug one. Like I want to hug one. When it comes down, when push comes to shove, I want to hug a manatee.
What's happened here is you didn't say the truth. You said words.
I said I want to swim with, but also like
what the truth is, you want to cuddle.
But that's, to me, it's like, okay, in the New Jersey,
because you and I have swum together many times, but it's not frequently just a big long hug in the water.
I'm not saying I want a full the whole time, but it's like the New Jersey Aquarium had like a thing. I think they changed the phrasing of it, but it was like swim with sharks experience, and I was like, well, that sounds really cool. It's like a very safe environment because these are not dangerous sharks. Like, these species are not particularly dangerous. I was like, oh, I bet it's like a cage, and then they just put you in there so that, like, they probably don't even come near you, like whatever.
Right.
And then it was like, no, there's basically a channel around the top of the shark enclosure, and they're like,
you're swimming in water that is technically the same water as sharks.
Yeah, it's like basically you are in a like the kiddie pool, wiggling your way through a tube, and I was like, well, that's not like that's not swimming with sharks.
That's a lie. What you're telling me is a lie.
Yeah. But Key does have his own little elephant, which I love.
He's so in love with this elephant. He's like, I'm going to take you back to America, and we're going to get you in the circus.
He said, we're going to run away to the circus. You're my best friend.
That's right. We get this awesome scene with giant bats, and I definitely have not told, I don't know if I've even told you this story. This may be your first time, but I went on my honeymoon last year, went to Australia, and a friend of mine had visited some years before, and he was like, while you're in... Shit, I just forgot the name of the town.
Adelaide?
If it'll come to me later. No. It's where you stay to go do stuff at the Great Barrier Reef. It will come to me.
Cairns.
But whatever. That's it. Yep.
Cairns.
Yeah.
However you pronounce that.
Cairns.
So
my buddy was like, when you're there at sunset, go to like this part of town. It's not a very big town, so it's like, pretty walkable from anywhere. And I was like, all right. And I completely forgot about it. And then we happened to be walking back from going to dinner, and it was right about sunset. And I was like, oh, wait, this is where Matt told me to go. And I look up, and I saw these people looking up and taking pictures, and I'm like, what are they looking at? And they were bats, like, truly not exaggerating, about the size of the ones in this movie.
Damn.
They were, like, absolutely enormous bats, and they all at sunset like come out and just start feeding. You can see them just like catching bugs, going nuts, swimming, flying in circles and catching bugs. But they are huge, like just enormous wingspans on these bad boys.
Damn.
Very cool.
So we get this like really dumb sequence where Kate Capshaw is like hanging laundry and somehow accidentally picks up a giant bat.
Yeah.
And that sets off this chain reaction where she like stumbles over a Komodo dragon and bumps into a snake and then bumps into a scorpion. The whole time we keep coming back to Indy, like arguably the better scene of like Indy in Short Round playing cards being like, you're cheating. Look at the ace in your sleeve. You have the cards stuck together. And I'm like, can we just cut her out of this scene? Like,
the worst part of it is there's no reason for her to go on the adventure. Like, she was kidnapped, and then Indy is like, air quotes, rescuing her from her very nice house and well kept, you know what I mean? It's not like Lao Che is abusive to her. And so even at the point where like they get to the plane, Indy could just leave her and get on the plane and it would be fine. Like Lao Che would be like, oh, he kidnapped you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She shouldn't have been in this movie. I'm sorry. She shouldn't have been here.
The best version of this movie is if you just left her on the dock.
Mm-hmm. This is you and Key having fun and palling around.
I was talking to Mom about this movie because she was saying like, oh, Raiders is around. I'm like, I'm sure Indy's airing all month on cable. And she was like, is Temple of the Doom the gross one? And I was like, yeah, it's less gross than you remember. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, and Kate Capshaw? And I was like, and she is significantly worse than you remember.
That is accurate.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this isn't as gross as it was as I remember it being, although I was like 6, and it's just like, oh, but she is significantly worse.
She's absolutely, yeah. We get to this giant, the production design of this movie is excellent. That like this spooky statue, it's covered in blood and body parts. It's amazing.
Yeah. I also really like the, we talked about this a little bit in Last Crusade, but it has taken on a little bit more context having watched the other two just recently here, where she, what does she think it is when she grabs the snake?
She thinks it's the trunk.
It's the elephant's trunk. Yeah. And so she ends up like, somehow even after she yanks it off of the elephant and throws it into the woods, she doesn't realize it's a snake, but whatever. But Indy is terrified of it. And obviously we recently saw in Raiders how much he doesn't like snakes. And it's so satisfying in Last Crusade that River Phoenix ends up in the snakes and you're like, oh no, he's going to be terrified. And he's not. And then you're like, oh, this is why he doesn't like snakes. Like we're learning the origin of it. And it doesn't feel as ham-fisted as something like, oh, you're by yourself. I guess you're Han Solo. Which I just heard someone say on a podcast, and I don't know if this is true. They may have just been joking, but I like to believe it's true. That was apparently like one of the moments that sold Bob Iger on the need to make the Solo movie.
Yeah, they kept being like, you'll learn how Han Solo got his name. And I was like...
But no, specifically in the pitch for the movie, Bob Iger was like, I love the idea of him being alone, so it's Han Solo.
I thought his parents named him. Like every other fucking name. Like most, not every, most names.
Yeah. Anyway, we make it to this village, and the British troops are also.
Indy's using his real name a lot, which, like,
supposed to?
I don't know. Like, if you're, famed treasure stealer.
Well, that's why he's not using. That's why he's not saying Indiana Jones. He's saying Dr. Henry Jones.
No, he says my name is Indiana Jones.
Oh.
He doesn't say Doctor. He says Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Short Round keeps yelling at people to call him Doctor, particularly Kate Capshaw.
Yeah. Well, put some respect on this name.
Yeah.
But like, if you're an international thief of things and culture, you might use a fake name now and again. But instead, he's like, these are exactly who we are. And then at dinner is like, hey, we came from a village that says you stole shit. And it's like, whoa. Maybe we should cool down, everybody.
This does belong in a museum.
Except not this one. This movie does. He said it doesn't belong in a museum, and I was like, this is a first.
Yeah, yeah. How did that attitude change? Is there an interstitial movie I can learn where you were like, money. I got all the money. That's what I need. Also, I meant to throw this in before, but when Ke Quan picks them up and in the car and Kate captures in the back, the famous
This isn't time for
line,
love.
Yes, which I always remembered as No Time for Love, Dr. Jones. But I use the wrong version of it whenever someone tries to solicit me to sign a petition and I'm trying to hustle to get on the train to go home from work on those days. Someone said this online and it was like, the best thing to do is hit them with a complete non sequitur movie line because it's confusing and then they just go, huh? And you just walk away. And so I've taken to, when they come up to me, sorry, no time for love, Dr. Jones. And I just keep walking and inevitably the reaction is like, what? And then they just have a confused look while they're fumbling.
You gave him the story.
I'm five paces away. Anyway, where are we at here?
Kate Capshaw comes out in a beautiful dress. She actually does look pretty.
Oh, right.
I can give her credit for that.
She's trying to be a gold digger with what she thinks is a eligible Maharaja, but it's actually the Boy King, who, like all of the children in this movie,
So weird.
Seems to be dubbed by the same person who does the one line in
Summer Rental.
Summer Rental of "Can I play in the basement with Yorku?"
Or it's like the weird dubbing in Village of the Damned where they're like, it would be better if you didn't ask these things. And it's like, that's not your voice. That's not your voice.
What is happening? Yeah.
This like child comes out and I was like, so there's no explanation for why the child is king? There's no one no one talks about like
it's like any boy king throughout history. Is like when your plan is this family rules until they don't, you sometimes end up with a boy king.
But this Maharaja seized power. Like this wasn't a dynasty. They said he goes, I thought Pankot Palace was empty, and they said no, a new Maharaja has taken residence. So that's why I was confused. I was like, hang on, how did a new Maharaja who's a baby? First, I thought, I was like, is it going to be like...
Well, we learned because he is head of the Thuggee.
Well, he's also being zombified.
Right.
We'll get there. But I was like...
Oh, also a fun thing I learned, Thuggee was a name that the British colonialists basically made up to describe the like same thing that conservative whack jobs do, which is just like the roving gangs of whatever. They just like sort of made up these. They weren't mystical powered in the British version,
but that was just a name for the gang that they made up.
The gang of thieving, locals,
savages.
Yeah, and it was just like, you got to beware for bands of the Thuggee running around.
Is that where we get thug from?
Yes.
Huh. Fascinating.
Yeah. So, very cool British colonialism, super, super shitty.
But yeah, I was like, I kept waiting for an explanation that like he was actually an adult, but like eating the hearts makes him young.
Oh, like he got boyified is what you want.
I thought it was like a hocus pocus, like I am beautiful, boys will love me. Because like I was like, that makes sense that your reign will be forever as long as you keep staying young or whatever nonsense.
There is a not bad version of the thing I'm joking about that could be done for sure.
Yeah, it's not Sarah Jessica Parker in this movie, but you know what I mean.
Right. And here's where we just get like a friggin' melting pot of shitty stuff toward people of India. And this is the part where it's like, okay, fine, you want to throw the snake out as this. Originally, the script had a line where, Indy knows that I don't know if it's the majority or not, but I believe if it's not the majority, it's a significant population of people from India are vegetarian. And so like the village food was vegetarian, but this is all meat. And so Indy apparently in the original script, like notices that something is wrong and that they're eating weird food that doesn't make any sense. That he knows enough about the culture to do that. For some reason, they cut that probably,
which would have been great because then it leans into this whole like creepy mysticism thing.
Right. And also if like something is amiss here, as opposed to it just being like, aren't Indian people weird and eating weird stuff? Because beyond the food part, we have Willie like putting cologne on this stranger as
so no, she's putting it on she puts it on the elephant. It's not on a person.
No. She puts cologne on the elephant a bunch, and then when she's sitting at dinner, she's flicking it onto the guy sitting next to
I
her.
totally missed that.
As if like, oh, this man smells bad and I can't deal with it.
Totally missed that.
Which, by the way, transitive property is like, this man smells like the beast that I have been riding for the entire thing of the movies. It's just like, very cool, gang. Really good stuff we're doing here.
Yeah, there's a giant snake that they cut open and it's filled with leeches.
Eels, inexplicably, eels.
Eels. Yeah, it's weird.
And then the guy's like eating them.
And then they're eating the bugs. They literally look like the scarabs from Brendan Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah, and he's like scraping the guts out of them.
Eyeball soup.
Yeah. She asks for soup, and they look like human eyeballs.
They do. I mean, maybe they're monkey. It would make sense that monkey eyeballs would look like that.
I guess they could be. Yeah.
This is where Indy is just like has no chill on like.
Oh, he's just drilling.
Hi, I'm Dr. Indiana Jones, and these people said you stole from them and you stole all their children. And it's like, hey, I thought we were going to do some sneaking. I thought this was a sneaking movie.
Indy, did you think this was a loud mission? Because it's a sneak mission. Put your cardboard box on, Solid Snake.
Yeah. Brat. Red exclamation point.
Yeah, exactly. But chilled monkey brains for dessert, of course.
I do love the presentation. I have to say, as awful as this dish is, I love the presentation. You eat with your eyes.
No, the eyes were in the soup.
You eat the eyes.
And then this all wraps up, and Indy brings a fruit plate to Willie's room, and then they have the strangest foreplay ever, where they're each taking huge bites of apple between quips, which is just like insane.
And like, okay. Consent can be taken back at any time.
Yeah.
However, this entire exchange is her going, the subtext is, I want to fuck you. And he goes, I want to fuck you. For 7 lines, the subtext is, let's bone, let's bone, let's bone. And then he shuts the door and goes, all right, I guess we're going to bone. And she goes, I don't know what kind of girl you think I am. And I was like, I thought you were the kind of girl who wanted to have sex with Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of girl who wants to have sex with Indiana Jones. I thought that was who you were too. That's the vibe you were giving.
As was 65% of the audience watching this movie. It is inexplicable. And you're right, like, fair play. She got a vibe change and doesn't want it. That's her prerogative. But for her to be indignant...
For her to act as though, like, he is misreading signals is bananas.
Yeah.
You can say, I don't want this anymore, and that's fine. But, like, you can't pretend you weren't saying I want this before.
Right.
What is this?
Right. So he goes back to his room, she goes back to her, or she stays in hers, and is
didn't need multiple minutes of this nonsense of them waiting, staring at the clock. Just shut up and move on.
But it does lead to an incredible thing where there's an assassin in Indy's room who is hiding in the mural, and he is dressed just like the people in the mural, which is
wild. It feels like it's Wild Wild West too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
the movie Wild Wild West.
Yeah. No, I was saying yes, as in like this does seem like something from that, and then I was like, oh no, literally, this isn't that. You're right.
Also, she at one point starts screaming. She's like, "I would have been the best adventure you ever had," and I was like, "You, madam, are no Marion Ravenwood."
Also, how about just the time he retrieved the fertility idol?
That too.
We want to talk about specific adventures. The assassin eventually gets whipped around the neck, and then the whip gets thrown into the ceiling fan, and he gets reeled into
powerful ass ceiling fan.
And both Indy and Short Round can't bear to look at this.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because he goes, Short Round, turn off the switch, and when he does, it falls. And I was like,
he like slowly unreels to the floor.
Oh, I thought it was like a drop. I was like, that's not how switches work. It's not a drop.
No, it's like a fishing reel, like slowly lets him down to the floor.
Gotcha.
So we go to Willie's room. We find a secret passage that you can only access by groping the statue, which I found pretty funny.
Sure. And then the like paintings inside match the little like paper or the fabric clue from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Key good.
It's basically depicting Shiva, the goddess, like giving the stones to the people, right?
I think so.
On there, if I recall correctly. Because later Shiva is an important part of the stones thing. So I think it's Shiva basically giving like holy objects to the people.
It's kind of, I think it's sort of similar to Prometheus giving fire, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Same vibes, yes.
But
also, speaking of religious stuff, we got a comment on Facebook, and I'm sorry that I don't remember the person's name, but I did like your comment, that the Ark does kill people in the Bible.
Oh, work.
It is like where God's power resides, and somebody like
that makes so. I mean, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. So that is back to the previous episode, but someone was like, actually, the Ark is where God's power resides.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like reading the whole Bible to find that answer.
It's a lot of pages of that thing.
Indy's like,
everywhere.
He goes, stick close to me and don't touch anything, and immediately Ke Quan opens a door that like crumbles into dust as like ghouls come out like a haunted house.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
It's always a thing in these stupid things.
Do you think it was someone who was like looking and got killed by a booby trap, or was it a situation where they put like 3 guys in there and they're like, all right, you guys are the guards and then we'll send in a shift to replace you, and then they just forgot about them?
No, I think they were just dead bodies strung up for like how I said, donate my body to the arts. Science has enough bodies.
So this is just like a spooky house.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to scare people to put them in the bug room.
So Ke Huy Quan is talking about the floor being squishy or crunchy, and then it turns out it's just full of
bugs.
This is very gross. I will say this is grosser than the food scene.
I agree. This is the point where I'm like, if this is where I'm tucking my socks, my pants into my socks to protect myself.
Yeah. So we get into another room, and Short Round activates the squisher that comes down from the ceiling.
Because Indy told him to. He
says lean against the wall.
He said, just go lean against the wall. Don't move. And he does. He's following orders.
I love they have like spikes come up from the floor and from up top, but the ones coming up the floor make it look like this skeleton is reanimating.
I saw a skeleton moving and I was like, hang on.
There are limits and you are rapidly approaching.
I was like, you are kissing the line of what I will believe this movie's kind of magic.
Yeah. So they're screaming for help. She eventually makes her way down to be.
She's like, why? What's the rush? What's the problem? It's like everyone's grandma. Like, what'd they say? Do what?
So Indy has a little hole that he can speak through, and he's trying to get her to reach into this mystery cockroach hole and release the lever that will kill them. And then there's like 6 back and forth with this, which is too many, which is frustrating. But we do get one of my favorite lines in all of Indiana Jones, which is when he very aggressively enunciates, "We are going to die."
Yes.
Very good.
I really hate her character. Again, I went, how do we go from Marion to her?
I love the spike coming down to the ceiling, like pushing the brim of his hat down against his face.
It's sort of like those head massagers that are like a bunch of tines. It's just like if you put that on top of a hat and smoosh it, because the brim is all smooshed down on his face. And then, of course, she sets off the trap again as soon as she saves the day. I was like, stop it! Stop it!
So they have to roll through the other side. Those head massagers, by the way, great $1 purchase. Very relaxing.
They are.
Highly recommend. So they dash through. We get the hat, the famous like reaching back for the hat and pulling it through, of course. Mm-hmm. And this is where we see the Thuggy doing their rituals.
It's a beautiful looking production design chamber.
It absolutely is. And I also love Indy being like, no one's seen this for 100 years. And it's like, well, except for the 200.
All of the people in this room
participating.
Maybe white people haven't seen it for hundreds of years.
Exactly.
But it's clearly a current occurrence.
Precisely.
The Kali statue is amazing. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. When the guy reaches into the chest to pull out the heart, I was like, that is way too easy to have pulled out a heart. And then the wound heals itself instantly and he's still alive. And I was like, oh, and never mind. It's magic. Got it.
Yeah.
Also, to know that Indy saw this before the Ark of the Covenant, come on, buddy.
Sure. Yeah. This is also the first time we get the very creepy and unsettling Kali Ma chant.
Mm-hmm.
So
they lower the dude into the fire, into the lava, which, if that's lava, he is not making it down there.
No. The part where
Lava is
Willie
way
lying-
hotter, and the air around lava is way hot. Like
Yes.
by the time you touch the lava, you're already a skeleton. Like everything's been burned off of you.
In a volcano, if it's in open air, it's you
A little
have
different.
possibility.
But if you're
yeah,
in a volcano shaft, by the time your body touches the lava, it's just a Halloween skeleton.
yeah. The part where Willie is dangling like down there, and she goes up.
The
and
real bad
down.
dummy.
Yeah, it was like, hey guys, like I know it's a movie and like logic doesn't have to enter into it, but she is really close to something that's 2,000 degrees. Maybe she stops well above the lava for the sake of this.
Well, to be fair, the depth is also nebulous because sometimes it takes half a crank to get the person up, and sometimes it takes several tries.
Exactly. Yeah, when they let her go, it starts doing like a spin, and then to get her back, it's 1/2 rotation.
Yeah. Also, I thought they ate the heart.
I did not. I remembered it beating in his hand. I forgot that it caught on fire.
But for some reason, I thought like eating the heart was the key part of it.
Honestly, it would make some sense with the whole blood drinking thing.
Yeah. And this is another the like magic stones. I don't remember the Shankara stones.
Yeah.
Indy's like, oh, the diamonds inside them, and Kate Capshaw's like, diamonds, and I was like,
he practically has to tackle her to the floor to keep her from.
She turns into fucking Abu,
Right. Yeah.
literally Abu in the Cave of Wonders.
Right. She's doing like a Wile E. Coyote, like.
I was like, if she just falls into the lava pit, like no one's gonna notice.
Right.
Indy goes down there to get them. They're glowing at this point, and so I was like, oh, I bet they're hot, but they're not. And then later they are hot for no reason. So I don't get it.
Later when Indy is somehow able to call on the power of Shiva as a non-believing white man, they get hot. So Willie and Ke Huy Quan get kidnapped.
Ooh, the jump scare.
Or captured. Yes.
And there's also these like human skins like flailing in the breeze behind him. It's wild looking.
Yeah.
It looks like something on a fucking Texas chainsaw.
Yeah. This movie is much, much darker, obviously, as we've been saying.
It is. So now we see that they're using the stolen children for mining, and I was like, well, what are they mining for? Like,
can we play in the mines with Yorku?
I was like, is it gold? Like, are they like, we want gold? And I was like,
right.
And then we find out that they're mining for the last two Shankara stones. A lot more child ADR going on.
Yeah. And also, like, they're hidden somewhere in the mine, but they're doing, like, excavation, which doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me.
I mean, maybe they were, like, buried for safety? I don't know.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, it's like they're excavating this whole mine and trying to find these two stones because they have 3, but I think we're skipping ahead a bit, but they have 3 stones. If they have all 5, they can take over the world.
And so, like, at this point, they're like, oh, if you drink the blood, you become a mindless drone. And I was like, oh, like, so, like, voodoo zombies. Mm-hmm. And then in the next scene, they pull out a voodoo doll. And I was like,
yeah,
well, hang on. I thought voodoo was like a French African kind of basis.
Right, which is why it's especially annoying that they spend all this time being racist to Indian people, because it's like, you're doing nonsense. Why don't you just take some of this nonsense and some of that nonsense and make up your own country?
Yeah, I thought, or maybe it was French Afro-Caribbean was what I thought that came from.
I thought of it as a Caribbean thing. So, I'm not sure which culture specifically, but I do know that the voodoo has its...
I was like, I don't remember ever hearing voodoo came from India.
No, never before. And there's it's like the comical kind of voodoo doll, right? Where it's like, oh, if you poke this voodoo doll with the pin...
With no rules.
Feels like, right. And it's just like, well... How does this become later? They just leave the doll and this whole cave explodes. So shouldn't Indy feel like his
also someone steps on it? Not intent. Right. It's not like a close up showing it, but if you watch the shot in the wide, someone steps on the doll and Indy doesn't react.
Right. It just makes no sense.
Also, this shitty little Maharaja, he's good at being like a shitheel, which is why later when they spoiler alert, they're like, he was brainwashed the whole time. I was like, no. Let our villains be villains.
Why is it that getting burnt makes you unzombified?
I thought it was pain. I thought pain. It was like pinching awake kind of thing.
Because both times it's specifically getting burned in the side with a torch.
Maybe it's like a reset button.
That's
like
where the human...
You take the pin on your phone.
Sure.
Also, I always love that people who are like, I'm working to bring about a vengeful god in human form on Earth to conquer all other gods and religions and people. I'm like, and you think they're not going to kill you. That's adorable.
Right.
That's really adorable. You think the vengeful god's not going to be like, I'm going to bring other gods. I don't need you, human little shit stain.
Right.
Squish.
Right. Yeah. What do I need you for? Now I'm in control.
I'm here now.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay you shit.
Me. Yeah. I feel like they did this a few times on Buffy, but it should have been basically every episode where it's like, thanks for resurrecting me. Next snap. You know what I mean?
Dead.
Most of this movie was like watching a new movie, although obviously parts of it I remember. I completely forgot about Evil Indy. This whole sequence where like he spits out the blood and then they whip him until he's subservient, then they voodoo doll him so he has to drink the blood, and then he becomes like a little drone. It's like no wonder I hated this when I was a kid. It's scary, it's yucky, and then my hero becomes the bad guy for a few minutes.
And like it's not even a good worth it few minutes. Like it just feels like we're padding the runtime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they put Kate Capshaw in the like human cage thing, and I was like, I wouldn't care that much.
I would be fine. I would be kind of relieved.
I was like, the last 20 minutes of this movie are kind of fly if she's not in them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ke Huy Quan is down with the other enslaved children, and he like gets beat up by a guard a little bit, and then the guard leaves, and immediately he goes back to banging on the chain between his feet.
Yeah, breaking his own chain. And then there's a great stunt. All the children. It kind of reminds me of only because I just watched it. I'm sure there's better reference points. The scene in Super Mario Brothers when they're escaping the old one, the 90s one.
Yeah.
When the brothers are escaping the jail cell, and all the people in the jails are like, woo, woo, yeah! And they're like cheering as they like, fucking, zip line out of there. All the kids are like so excited that one of them is escaping. And he climbs this giant ladder as a guy's behind him, and then like uses the ladder as like a tipping point to like swing his way onto a rope. It's a great stunt.
It's a really cool stunt.
Obviously, it's not him, but it's a great stunt.
It's very clearly a pretty adult-sized person, but it's too cool to care.
Well, they also use... So, Short Round wears this, like... Is it New York Yankees baseball hat?
Mm-hmm.
And they do it on purpose so that they can paint a helmet with the stripes of the baseball hat. So that
sure.
From a distance, like, later when he's climbing into a bucket, you can tell that it's just, like, a roller derby helmet that's painted.
Sure.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Kate Capshaw can't wake Indy up, but you know what can? Short Round.
Yeah, he burns him with a torch.
The real hero of this movie is this is Short Round in the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it really is. Also, I love Indy being like, kid, I'm all right, wink.
Yeah, it's cute. Also, Willie is doing so much up and down in this lava pit. So much up and down.
So much. I would just be... Bleh, bleh.
Well, I would be passed out at this point. I'm like, I have whiplash, and I'm vomited, and I'm sleeping for a little bit.
You remember my whole bit about Edward Scissorhands? That would be me. Molaram escapes. He goes through like a trapdoor.
And like does a full-on haunted house cackle. Like into like a resonating echo. Yeah, a fading echo.
So Indy starts hucking guys into the lava pit, which I love.
It's like that in Bob's Burgers when they do Air Force One. It's just get off my plane, get off my plane.
Well, it's all honestly, it's like Royal Rumble, like eliminations over the top rope. Like the first guy, he does the like bend down and throw him by standing up, and then the second guy, he like does like
uses his momentum,
like power slam. Yeah. There's like the only thing missing is like a classic caber toss.
And then he fights with like the Maharaja's like right hand man and uses his body to stop. Like it's the giant spokes of the wheel, and I was like, someone's body is getting in here.
Yeah.
And this guy ends up getting like
akin to a ship's wheel, but
a pirate ship wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But his body gets like perpendicular to it, and it just like squishes him as it like stops Kate Capshaw from falling.
And he's like writhing in pain, and then like they cut away and cut
He's
back,
just
and they
gone.
he's like laying in the fetal position, and then they're like reeling in Kate Capshaw, and then we cut away and cut back, and yeah, he just poofs. He's gone. He's not in the movie anymore.
I was like, is this a video game thing that like dead bodies just disappear?
That's great.
So they rescue her, and then Indy's like, we're going to rescue all the kids. But then I also was like, well, what happened to the like 200 gang cultist, whatever people that were across this chasm of lava? Did they just bounce?
It's very weird. There's like this gap where they can't get to Indy and the gang for some reason. And it's like, well, Indy was on that side and now he's on this side. So there must be a path somewhere.
But also, like, there's nowhere in, like, so they're just like, we can't get you. I guess we'll all just go home. Like,
Right. We've been enslaving children and doing insane stuff for this cult for like a year, I guess. But our families will welcome us back with open arms.
We got a Three Stooges hammerhead bonk.
Yes. This is crazy to me that it's done with like a brunk, you know.
It literally is
like Tweety birds coming out.
100%.
If a sledgehammer went up into the air 10 feet or so and landed directly on the top of your head, it would cave your brains into your feet. Basically.
Yeah, the lump doesn't go up, it goes in.
Yeah. And this person just does like a crumble.
And then
it's a kid too, isn't it? It's not a bad
I think it might be a kid. And so Indy's fighting this big beef. I think it's the German mechanic. I think it's the same actor.
Is it really?
They said that they put him in both movies because it was going to be a joke that the same like beefy guy was everywhere.
Oh, I guess it does look a lot like him. Yeah, now that you say that, even though he's got like a turban on and stuff, it is relatively the same face.
So they're fighting, and then Short Round keeps trying to help, and Willie's like, "No, Indy can do it himself." And I was like, Short Round has been the most helpful person in this room.
Yes. Also, Indy has said that he's gotten him out of multiple jams. Like, stay in your lane, Willie.
Yeah, and that lane is out of this movie.
Yeah.
That lane is the broken one on I-95 just outside Philadelphia.
Outrageous.
Boy,
it's good to live in a world where no one gives a shit about infrastructure.
Oh my God. I was like, under normal circumstances, this would take 4 years to fix, but because it is a truly major an imperative part of the road system, I was like, it might take only a year.
Yeah. They said months. Like,
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. Pennsylvania road systems.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to get federal money and it's going to happen quickly. Anyway, it's going to affect interstate commerce. So money will be spent very quickly. The boy
then fix all the other potholes too, please. There's a lot of them.
Hey,
they're everywhere.
That doesn't matter. Go fuck yourself. That's what they say. The Boy King's using the voodoo doll again, while Indy's having this fight with the German mechanic at the Rock Crusher. Ke goes after the Boy King, and he basically like fist fights a little bit, and then burns him, and he's not under the spell anymore. So he's.
I was so mad when they did the reveal that the Maharaja was like under the spell. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Let villains be villains. He can be an evil kid.
The problem is that it's a kid, and you can't kill a kid. That's the thing. I don't think.
Well, I mean, that he definitely doesn't escape. We definitely don't watch him walk out of the mine. So
that's true.
The flooded mine. I'm pretty sure he's just kind of hanging out down there.
I love that Indy at one point.
We don't see him surf out of the cave. So
like Snake.
Yeah. Yes.
The Maharaja is on one side and Snake Plissken's on the other, and Steve Buscemi's in the middle, being like, "Wow, what's going on?"
Yeah. Yes. He like pries the lid off a box, off of a crate to be like, I'm gonna surf on this.
No, it'd be more like, I'm gonna surf on this.
I'm going to surf on this.
Hang 10, bruv.
The character is really annoying of the Maharaja kid, but he acts it well, and I love a dramatic hat pin. So checks a lot of boxes.
It's pretty good. I love Indy in the fight with the German mechanic. Picks up a saw, like a 2-person like log saw, and hits him with it. It's such a bizarre thing. It's such a I've never seen a saw used as a weapon that way before.
As a flat weapon.
It really was delightful. Yeah,
a slapper.
Because like I would think you would. No, he doesn't hit him like a slap. He hits him with the teeth.
Oh, I missed that.
So I've seen a saw used as like a slap, right? Because like that's what the kinetic energy of that.
It makes a fun sound.
You can. and you can really whap somebody with it, but he hits him with the teeth like to cut.
And then, so Kate Capshaw's trying to get the minecart going, and Ke Huy Quan has this like giant stick and is just like kicking the shit out of everybody. And I'm like, so far he has woken up evil Indiana Jones. He stopped the Maharaja from using the voodoo doll against Indy and saved Indy's life. Woke up the Maharaja, learned which tunnel that they need to escape with. Like it is his movie. It is Short Round in the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The mechanic's turban gets caught by the rock crusher, and then it's just a smear of blood on the stone, which is pretty awesome looking.
I love when people's long things get stuck in stuff, except for Isadora Duncan.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Who's that?
She's a famous dancer. She was known.
This is a real
person.
Oh,
yeah, she was known for her scarves. Like very glamorous long scarves when she drove, and she was driving in a convertible, and the scarf got caught on the wheel. You've never heard of this?
Shit, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
I thought you were telling the joke from The Incredibles about capes.
No, this is a real person. Isadora Duncan was a dancer. And the only reason I know about it is because of the Serious Unfortunate Event books. They had a character. They had two characters, one named Isadora, one named Duncan. And I was like, well, that's an interest. I was like, I wonder who that is. And then I tappy.
Okay. Wowzers.
I didn't know about Isadora Duncan. She was like a old Hollywood type.
Okay.
I don't remember if she got decapitated or just strangled, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. Hey. Indy swings on a rope and lands in the minecart, which of course conveniently has a rail tie in it. That hey, don't worry about that. We're gonna need it in a couple minutes.
Also, Indy says he tells Short Round to like hold the brake. He goes, watch it on the curves. We'll fly right off the track. And it was like, this is just such video game instruction line. Like every time you die, you have to hear him say that because it's the beginning of the minecart chase. And I think, I know what to do.
It's much harder than you'd think. This game doesn't have a difficulty meter, so I can't make it easier. Fucking Breath of the Wild and your stupid broken weapons.
Also, this is the 10th time I'm doing it. I think I know what to do now. I think I get the instructions.
The minecart chase is fantastic. It's a mixture of actual roller coaster POV shots plus miniatures and
audio from a Disneyland roller coaster, apparently.
Yeah, I'm guessing the Matterhorn.
Probably.
Just pure guess. I couldn't look it up, or I couldn't find it when I tried to look for it. It just all says it's Disneyland roller coaster. But this is incredible looking, and like you said, is 100% the Donkey Kong business.
Yeah, that tongue.
They even do the jump.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's going to be a roller coaster in Nintendo World, which is very exciting to me.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
They try and pull Short Round out of the thing, so he's like stretched between the two cars, and I was like, you let him go.
This is hilariously bad looking in some of the wide shots. Like it's like
a Stretch Armstrong.
Sticks. Yeah.
Kate Capshaw throws one successful punch. She does a helpful thing in this whole movie.
Her punch kills 3 people.
It's like it's the goofy sound that like as they like crash through shit.
Yeah, it also has a Wilhelm in there. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, she knocks a guy unconscious who lands on the rails, and then the other cart hits them
and flips.
Hits him and flips off, and they land. They fall to their death.
So Indy jumps out of the front of the cart and stops it with his shoes.
Yeah, the brake snaps and he has to use his boot. Meanwhile, Mola Ram has flooded the tunnel and you can like hear the water coming at them. And Indy's yelling like, water, water, because his foot is literally on fire. And then he sees the wall of water and it's like, never mind, run!
Too much! So they they're like on the outside of this cliff facing, kind of wonky so VFX.
Funny. So we're like, they go out on this cliff and I'm like, man, this movie's almost over. I swear there's a part in this movie with a rope bridge. And then it's like, oh, the last 10 minutes of the movie are on the rope bridge.
We get a callback to the gun sword moment from the first one.
Yes, and the holster's empty, which is great.
Yeah. Short Round and Willie are on the rickety bridge, and then somehow the like bad guys are already on the other side.
Yeah.
I was like, how?
Yeah. They show these close-ups of these alligators, and then to like make sure you know that the alligators are under the bridge, they're just these like tiny little black dots, like way far.
They're just black grains of rice, just like floating in this water, this murky water.
Like. Yeah.
We saw a clip of the one crocodile doing the roll, the like I'm gonna grab you and ruin your day.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's also archers.
Yeah, they just kind of have weapons as needed. It's very strange.
I do like this part where Indy speaks, I'm guessing Mandarin, if that's what they were speaking in the beginning, to Short Round to like let him know, like, I'm gonna exactly what you think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. There's like a big stalemate on the bridge. Indy's in the middle.
He's holding his sword at, like, he's facing the rope on the rope bridge, not the people coming towards him. So like how no one like thought maybe.
And also like wrapping a stray rope around his wrist a bunch of times.
Yeah. Come on.
Mola Ram is on one side, Indy's on the other, and in between are some troops and also Short Round and Willie rather. And Short Round is like, hold on, lady, and she's like, what? It's like, okay, it's a
read the room, ma'am.
Sentence. Yeah. Mola Ram realizes what's happening and like very quickly grabs on. The bridge falls down. It's very cool looking.
It's a great stunt.
Have a feast. Yeah, it is a great stunt.
Lots of bags
really
of soup.
Impressive. Yeah, really, really lots of bags of soup. I don't think it was this stunt particularly, but one of the stunts where he like does like a diving roll. It's earlier in the movie. I meant to say this, and you said stunt, and it reminded me.
Oh, his herniated disc.
Yeah, he herniated disc. They had to have a hospital bed on set, and basically when he wasn't filming, he was laying in the hospital bed.
And his stunt double did a lot of his stuff and looked like him. Luckily, apparently.
Yeah. Vic Armstrong, really great book. If you're into movie making, you would probably enjoy. Vic Armstrong was Harrison Ford's stunt double and also a really cool stunt man in his own right. Did some direct second unit stuff a lot, did a lot of stunt coordination. He actually was involved in the James Bond series and invented this device that was like a brake. There's a very famous scene in James Bond, also in a volcano actually, where all these guys rappel down from the ceiling. And
is that the one we saw? Oh, no, never mind. I was thinking of the volcano disaster movie we did.
Yeah. So all these dudes rappel down from the ceiling, and they couldn't figure out how to do it safely because they like it was just like a free fall, and people kept
Christ.
What they basically did to stop themselves back in the day was wear gloves and squeeze the rope, and they were literally burning through the gloves, like 2 or 3 pairs on top of each other. And he invented this brake so you could like functionally not kill yourself. He's a very cool book. It's highly worth reading if you're into this stuff. Vic Armstrong's book. Also, as he's cutting the rope, she gives the exact same line delivery as the guy in Troll 2 who goes, "Oh my god."
She says, "Oh my god," every other line. I hate it.
I know. But this one in particular is literally beat for beat the line reading in that. Anyway.
So it becomes a ladder now. What's the bad guy's name?
Mola Ram.
Mola Ram. He and Indy are fighting over the bag, and then this is where all of a sudden the rocks turn fire, and I was like, well, hang on.
Indy starts like calling on Shiva to like help him here, basically. Also, I love that Mola Ram throws one of his own guys off the bridge.
It does. I mean, that's classic bad guy stuff.
Yeah, I know. And then he's trying to do a heart rip, and Short Round is like, "Cover your heart." And I'm like, well, a little late for that, kid. He's.
I thought he was gonna grab his own. I thought Indy was gonna take his hand and put it on his own heart.
That would have been cooler if he used. It was like instead of like a quit hitting yourself, it was like quit heart ripping yourself, quit heart ripping yourself. And then Mola Ram's holding his own still beating heart. Mola becomes gator food, and Indy catches the last of these stones. The other 2 fell in the river.
I guess fuck those villages, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's hard to be too critical in a situation where you are almost dying.
I'm talking about the movie, like from a movie standpoint.
Sure.
Fuck that. Fuck those villages that had their magic rock stolen.
Yeah, and presumably their children enslaved.
Yeah, like all of these kids can't come from one village.
Right. Yeah, unless that village was very productive.
I mean, hey.
They had a 6-child per family policy there.
A 6-child minimum.
The British guy who Indy had dinner with arrives with a battalion and does some slaughtering in classic British colonial fashion.
That's what they know how to do. I'm
Although
here
there
to
are locals.
I'm here to
They're-
steal stuff for the British Museum and kill Indian people, and I've already ran out of stuff to steal.
And also, I sent most of the white guys home, so I'm going to make the folks who live here kill the other people who live here. Indy climbs up, and they end up with the hero's welcome at the village, and the kids return.
Well,
and
I
it's
wrote,
just
I wrote, they get their stone back, and I was like, but didn't they also lose all of their children? And then they like do the
Yes.
turnaround, all the kids come back, and I was like, oh, there they are.
yeah, the flood of kids up the hill. Willie and Indy are leaving, and she's like, this was the worst experience of my whole life. Rah, 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 rah. And he whips her and
I hate
catches
it.
her and reels her in, and they kiss, and then Short Round gets them with an elephant, which is the best part of this.
This is also where he says this doesn't belong in a museum, it'll just be another rock gathering dust. And I was like, never stopped you before.
See, the difference is the people in most cases we see Indy taking treasure that has been stolen and then re-stealing it, other than the fertility idol, which he does steal from its resting place.
Yeah, straight stealing.
But in this case, it's like, well, this does belong here, so I could just leave it here, you know? And that's the big finale. The kids all hug them, and they all, cheer and clap and stuff, and that's the end of the movie. A bad movie. It is not worse. I will say it is better than the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't seen that in a while, but
Yeah.
Kate Capshaw, her character Willie really brings this movie down.
Oh,
If
yeah. Willie
truthfully,
is
if
awful.
you were even like someone shitty editing, just like edited out all of her scenes in the movie, already it's like a significant improvement because there's no like whining and screaming and like
Right.
not helping.
Right. Yeah, she's useless. She doesn't do anything to help like when the fighting is going down. She doesn't do anything useful, as a character. She doesn't add comedy to this movie. It's just like a bummer. Everything about it sucks.
Yeah. And again, not Kate Capshaw's fault. It's 100% the writing, and there's not only so much you can do with what's on the page, but
Right. It's awful. It's really very, very bad. Yeah, a huge bummer. I had not watched this in a long time, and I was like really hoping to be wrong, and I was not wrong.
Nope.
I think it's insane that people would have this as their favorite of this trilogy. It is easily the worst of those three movies. So not a recommend for me. There are parts of it that are great. Like if you've never seen this, there's stuff here that you'll enjoy. But overall, it's really.
I mean, it's a great Ke Huy Quan performance. So like, I'll give you that one.
Absolutely, he's great, and Harrison Ford is of course great in it. But it's just like oh man, you wasted a prime Harrison Ford on this.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like it could have been anything, and you did this with it. It's just a huge bummer. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate that. If you have not done it, we'd love to get your review. Whatever place you listen to the show, just write a review. If it's not Apple Podcasts, then send us a screenshot, dissecting80s@gmail.com, and we read those on the air. It's been a while, haven't gotten one, so send one in. Visit patreon.com/dissecting80s, where you can get even more of this show and bonus episodes, the monthly newsletter that tells you what we've been watching and enjoying, and a whole bunch of more great stuff. So patreon.com/dissecting80s is where you can find all of that. We'll see you at Dissect the 80s on Twitter and on Facebook, Dissecting the 80s. Appreciate that helpful comment on Raiders. I'm sorry that I didn't write your name down. Thank you for that. And yeah. Thank you for listening to the show. We will be back in 2 weeks. I don't think we have scheduled what it is yet because we're working on some ideas around the 250th episode and trying to figure that out. So we're recording a little ahead of schedule here. Check the social media or the description of this episode for what the next episode might be. I have a good feeling it'll be Midnight Run. So if it's not that, I'll correct it. But thank you so much. That's not the 250th episode, but that will be the next one, I'm pretty sure. Thank you so much for listening. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.